For 2 years, Nora and Daniel were the couple everyone admired. Nora, elegant and beautiful, came from one of the wealthiest families in the city. She had everything: a luxurious lifestyle, social status, and a smile that could melt any heart. Daniel, on the other hand, was not rich. He was a hard-working man, financially stable, but nowhere near Nora's world of affluence. Yet, they were inseparable. They laughed together, traveled together, and built memories that made people believe in fairy tales. Their love story seemed destined for a happy ending, and soon, talks of marriage filled the air. But behind closed doors, cracks were already forming. Daniel noticed the late-night calls Nora quickly silenced. He noticed her perfume lingering when she returned home hours after she said she would. He knew something was wrong, but he kept quiet. And Nora, she wasn't blind either. She saw the way Daniel lingered too long with her friends. She noticed the hushed conversations, the sneaky text messages. Here's the chilling truth: they were both cheating, but neither of them said a word. They smiled in public, they kissed in front of family, and still they moved forward, planning the wedding. A wedding built on secrets, a wedding destined for horror. The wedding was a spectacle. Nora's family spared no expense: grand chandeliers, golden cutlery, and hundreds of guests dressed in elegance. Everyone whispered about how lucky Daniel was to have married into wealth, but if only they knew. Daniel stood at the altar, watching Nora walk down the aisle, her white gown glowing under the lights. She looked like an angel, yet in his chest he carried the weight of guilt. Nora's eyes met his as she approached, her lips curved in the perfect smile, a smile that hid her own sins. The vows were said, the rings were exchanged, the crowd cheered, and as they kissed to seal their union, thunder rumbled in the sky despite the clear weather. That night, in their honeymoon suite, Daniel woke to find Nora standing at the window in her wedding gown, staring into the darkness. When he asked her what she was doing, she turned slowly and whispered, "Every marriage has secrets. Ours will be buried deep." Her voice was cold, her eyes unreadable. Daniel laughed nervously, thinking she was joking, but something about the way she said it made his skin crawl. The first year of marriage was strange. Nora struggled to get pregnant. Doctors said she was healthy, but month after month nothing happened. She became restless, spending more time outside the house. Daniel knew she was still cheating. He found lipstick stains on receipts, messages on her phone she thought she deleted, but he said nothing, because he too had secrets. One night, Daniel made the mistake of crossing a line that would change everything. He impregnated one of Nora's closest friends, Linda. Linda was younger, unmarried, and desperate for love. Daniel promised her everything, even a wedding. They planned it in secret, away from Nora's watchful eyes. At least that's what Daniel thought, because Nora was not blind. She had been following his every move, watching, listening. And though she never confronted him, she was already planning her revenge. Linda's pregnancy advanced quietly, hidden under loose dresses and lies to her family. Daniel visited her in secret, promising he would take care of her, that they would start fresh. The plan was to marry Linda quietly, away from the city, while still keeping his marriage with Nora intact. A double life, a hidden family. But before Linda's wedding day could come, she disappeared. One evening, Daniel went to her apartment only to find it eerily silent. The lights were on, the dinner table set for two, but Linda was gone, no trace. Her phone lay smashed on the floor. The curtains fluttered against the night wind, and on the dining table was a note. Written in red ink, it read, "She knows." Daniel's blood ran cold. He stumbled back, heart pounding. Who knew? Nora? Linda's family? Someone else? The apartment felt suffocating, as though someone was still inside, watching. That night, Daniel dreamt of Linda's face, pale and lifeless, whispering his name from the shadows. When he woke, Nora was sitting beside him, calmly sipping tea. Without looking at him, she asked, "Did you sleep well?" Days turned into weeks, but Linda was never found. Her disappearance was whispered about, but never openly investigated. Daniel was tormented. He wanted to ask Nora if she knew anything, but her calmness scared him. Instead, strange accidents began happening around him. His car brakes failed one evening. His phone stopped working after a mysterious water spill. At night, he swore he heard whispers in their house, whispers that sounded like Linda's voice. Nora acted as though nothing was wrong. She hosted dinner parties, smiled at family gatherings, and even comforted Daniel when he appeared restless. But behind her smile, there was something darker, something watching. One evening, while searching for a document in Nora's study, Daniel found a diary. His hands shook as he flipped through it. Inside were detailed notes of his activities, the hotels he visited, the nights he spent with Linda, the promises he made. Every page written in Nora's delicate handwriting. At the bottom of one page, Daniel froze. It read, "She carried his child, but she won't anymore." From that night forward, Daniel could no longer look at Nora the same way. Her smile seemed sharper, her touch felt colder, and the house itself no longer felt like home. At night, Daniel heard footsteps in the hall, though no one was there. Shadows flickered across mirrors. The scent of Linda's perfume filled their bedroom even when windows were shut tight. One night, Daniel woke to find writing on their wall. 3 words, smeared in something dark and sticky. "She is mine." Terrified, Daniel grabbed a cloth and wiped it off before Nora saw it. But when he turned, she was already standing behind him, watching. "Why are you trembling, Daniel?" she asked softly. He forced a smile. "Just a bad dream." But Nora leaned in close, her lips brushing his ear. "Dreams reveal the truth, don't they?" That night, Daniel slept with the lights on. Soon more of Nora's friends began disappearing. First, Clara, who once flirted with Daniel at a dinner party. Then Ivy, who had covered for Nora during her secret outings. One by one, women connected to both Daniel and Nora simply vanished. Their families filed missing reports, but no leads were ever found. Police said maybe they left town. Others whispered it was a curse, that the couple was doomed. Daniel's paranoia grew. Every time he looked at Nora, he saw a silent accusation in her eyes, as though she knew every thought in his head. One evening, while searching the basement for old boxes, Daniel found something that froze his blood. A trunk. Locked, but not tightly enough. Inside were women's belongings. A bracelet he once bought for Linda. A shoe that belonged to Clara. A scarf he had seen Ivy wear. Daniel stumbled back, heart racing. He wanted to confront Nora, but fear sealed his lips. Because deep down, he wasn't sure who he was married to anymore. Daniel couldn't take it anymore. One stormy night, he confronted Nora at the dining table. "Where is Linda?" he demanded. "Where are Clara and Ivy?" Nora set her wineglass down carefully and stared at him. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then she smiled. "You really want the truth, Daniel?" His throat went dry. "Yes." Nora leaned forward, her voice calm but laced with venom. "I know everything. I knew from the first time you touched one of my friends. I watched you lie to me. I watched you promise them things you never intended to keep. And one by one, I took them away from you. Because no one steals from me." Daniel's hands shook. "What did you do to them?" Her smile widened. "They're still here, in this house. Haven't you heard their whispers?" At that exact moment, a gust of wind blew the dining room door open. Somewhere deep in the house, a woman's cry echoed faintly. Daniel's blood turned to ice. Daniel tried to escape. He made plans to leave, to run far from Nora and never return. But Nora was always a step ahead. One morning she placed a folder in front of him. Inside were photos of him with Linda, of him sneaking into hotels, of him whispering promises to women he thought were secrets. "You think you can run?" she said softly. "If you leave, these pictures go to your family, to your work, to everyone." Daniel felt trapped, caged in her web. But the cruelest twist came when Nora whispered something else that broke him completely. "The child Linda carried was not yours. It belonged to your best friend." Daniel's world collapsed. Everything he had risked, every betrayal, every lie, meant nothing. He wasn't even the father. From then on, Daniel was no longer himself. He wandered the house like a ghost, broken by the truth. But Nora? Nora flourished. She moved with confidence, her power over him complete. One night, she led him to the basement. "It's time you saw everything," she said. Inside, the trunk he had once opened was now uncovered. But this time, it wasn't just belongings. There were bones, jewelry clinging to skeleton hands, pieces of clothing rotting in the damp air. And in the corner, a cradle. Inside it lay a tiny bundle wrapped in cloth, a baby's blanket. But the inside was dark, wet, and empty. Daniel fell to his knees, screaming. "What have you done, Nora? What are you?" Nora crouched beside him, whispering, "I am what you made me. You wanted lies, betrayal, and shadows, and now you'll live with them forever." The lights flickered. The whispers of women filled the basement. Their voices merged into a chilling chorus, calling Daniel's name. When he looked up, Nora was gone. The door slammed shut, and Daniel was left in the dark, surrounded by the ghosts of every sin he had committed. They say Daniel still lives in that house, wandering its halls, haunted by the whispers of women he betrayed. Some nights, passers-by claim to see a pale face in the window, or hear screams carried by the wind. And if you listen closely, you might hear a woman's laughter. Nora's laughter. Because she never left, and she never will. Like and subscribe for more stories.